Hey, okay. Well, hey, good evening, Pittsburgh. It's good to be back. I was on a little hiatus here. I wasn't here last month, so I'm kind of like back, and some of the conversations we're having at this table are like really interesting here. So this was a good day to come back here, and I'm going to turn this over to Annette, and she's going to introduce who our guests are. So over to you, Miss Annette.
Thank you, Mike. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Humanity Matters Live Storytelling tonight. Our special guests are Kirk and Scott, our storyteller tonight. And we're really looking forward to that, especially now that it's October. He has some really juicy, scary stories for us.
Uh-oh.
And before we begin our show and I introduce our host, I want to say a memoriam for those who passed away last month in September. Rico Kasich, Eddie Money, B.J. Habibi, Cookie Roberts, Ann Siddons, and T-Bone Pickets, to name a few.
And also Mike Clark.
And Mike Clark of Channel 4, his son, who passed away. We're sorry to hear that. And our condolences are with him and his family. So I'm going to introduce you to our host, Albert Torcaso now, who's going to take it away.
Hey, Albert.
Hey, thanks. A couple of things. Mike Clark is on WTAE Channel 4 in Pittsburgh, PA. For those of you watching around the globe here on Facebook, remember that if you're watching and you want somebody else to watch the show, what you need to do is tell them to go to Facebook Live and look up Pittsburgh Community Television, and I believe you go to where it says post, and it doesn't matter where they are on the planet Earth, they can watch us live right now. And also, so that everyone that has access to Facebook Live, you can actually share this episode now, and it can go on your wall for those of you who do Facebook. And then you can also do it at like 7 o'clock when we are done. So you can actually, even in some cases, even download and own a copy of this episode. So if you're related to Kirk, or if you're related to Scott Pavel, and this is Kirk Owen, by the way, I want to get the full name because that's called respect, and that's what I'm all about. But I just want to make sure that you realize you can watch us live here, but you can actually own a copy, for the lack of a better way of putting it. And what you want to do, like I said, go to Facebook Live, Pittsburgh Community Television, and then you can actually share it. Now, at some point, hopefully this month, Lord willing, I will be putting it on YouTube. We will have to see, because my internet server, let's just say I'm not too pleased with them right now, because I'm paying them for what they call gigabit, but I'm actually getting, if you guys, those of you who know about internet speed, would you believe the last time I checked my speed, it was at 9 Mbps, 9 megabits per second. It's supposed to be like a gigabit, but it's 9. So needless to say, I called the company. They didn't get the job done. I'm still going to be giving them a nice couple of calls. And I'm the guy who's actually called the White House more than once on the comment line and a few other lines. So I don't think that the company, which will not remain nameless, it starts with a letter V, but at any rate, I'm not too thrilled with them. But because of that, I may not get it on YouTube. We'll have to see. Now, that being said, we're going to turn and change the topic a little bit. I just want to mention that this is the beginning of October 2019. Matter of fact, it's October the 1st. And in Pittsburgh, PA, we have either 89 degrees or 90 degrees, which is highly unusual. Now, me, I love the heat. Not the humidity, but I love the heat. But I want to mention that because it is a highly unusual thing to happen. But I also mention that because we should reflect on the fact we have 90 degrees. And while we have 90 degrees, Minnesota has like 2 feet of snow. So it's kind of a weird thing. But I just want to, I guess, be current, let you know when we're really on, because you may see this as a rebroadcast, AKA rerun. You will actually see the reruns or rebroadcast of this episode probably starting in November. So don't get too confused. Now, the one that you will see this Wednesday at noon will probably be from, it's called Blessings, and that will be September. So don't get too confused. With all that,
El, can I tell you a little interesting fact about Mike Clark, journalist Mike Clark?
yeah, go for it. And then we want to get to our storyteller.
Mike Clark was not only a photojournalist, he was Jewish.
Okay.
And the synagogue he attended was the synagogue where
Oh, wow.
the massacre took
Oh, I
place.
did not know that.
So,
Oh, my.
so Mike
Thank
Clark,
God he wasn't
Mike
there.
Clark has been through
a lot of tragedy.
a lot.
I believe that.
And all I can say is, like, can you imagine losing your child?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God!
It is terrible.
God, just help. The
I,
man out. That's all I can say, man.
I know exactly how he feels because in 1976, I witnessed my dad getting killed by a drunk driver right in
That's
front
a
of my
mess,
face.
Albert. That's a
And
mess,
and then
Albert.
after that, I was about a few months later, they sent me away to what was then called McIntyre Shelter, and then Scranton, PA, and I was in the system for about 5 years,
Wow.
and that was because I was getting physically abused every day at school, and I just quit going to school.
Wow.
I was getting beat up so badly that I almost died. But yeah, I can understand because that same year, I lost my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I lost 2 aunts. I was ripped away from my family. So, and I was not even allowed to call them for 6 weeks. So yeah, I can understand the tragedy, but I do not want to try to dissipate what it's like to lose a son or a daughter or a mother or father. It's hard.
And the tragedies that you've gone through, El, made you who you are today.
That's
El.
true.
Because
That's
you
true.
to me, El, you're one of the most intelligent guys. People think
I
that we
try to
come
be.
here with a script. No, this is all live, man. He
That's
has
true.
no script. This
Yeah,
is
zero.
This is all live. So El,
Okay.
you're a very
Well-
interesting man to me, El. I look up to you, Albert. I like you, Albert.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, Mike, let me
We
ask you
like
a
you
question.
too.
Do you think we should give Scott and Kirk my El Torcaso introduction treatment? I think so. I think it's time.
Boy, am I looking forward to this.
Uh-oh.
whatever it is.
Well, first of all,
Fire away.
we don't introduce you like, hello, our guest is Scott Prevail.
Well, it's been nice to meet you.
How you
You
doing?
know,
How you
how
doing?
about
We don't do that. We do like this. In this corner. No, I'm kidding. We have ourselves a very talented young man named Scott P. Pavel. This man is a storyteller. This man is an attorney. This man is an author. This man is a cook. This man ain't playing. And I'm proud to have him here. Now the guy to your right and my left, to the left, no, my fault.
I'm dyslexic.
That is the one and only makeup artist of Pittsburgh, Kirk, the makeup man, Owen. How you doing?
Doing good.
Now listen,
Good
guys,
having you.
gotta tell you a little something about this young man. This is a man of integrity. This is a
I think I'm
man.
gonna regret this.
Did you just say that? Tell me you did not just. Oh, you little brat. No, this is a man of integrity. This is a man who, actually, when I first approached him about being on TV, most likely he was like most people, thinking, oh, yeah, okay, sure, all right. And I tell people, if I say I'm going to put you on TV, you don't want to laugh too much because I mean it. Now, Scott and I happen to be at a wonderful, the best pizza place in the Pittsburgh area. I can't tell you where it is because that would be advertising, but I can tell you that it's in Westview in the suburbs of Pittsburgh. But we were sitting outside because it was a nice warm day, and we're just chilling and relaxing. And all of a sudden, I talked to Scott because somebody sneezed, and I was like, God bless you, because that's what I do. And I talked to Scott and his wonderful daughter, and next thing I know, they're getting ready to go home or wherever they were going. We talked a few more minutes, and then Scott says to me, well, you know, I'm a storyteller. And I said, what? We're going to hold the calls for a little bit, but we will get to you, I promise. So Scott says, I'm a storyteller, and he told us this very good story that was a biblical story. And I said, well, why don't we put you on TV? So without further ado, I know I'm a loudmouth. I know I can talk till you cry. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to hold the calls for, well, you know what? Let's get this call, and then it's going to be Scott Pavel time, and we're going to hopefully get some questions in. Now, Scott is also, shockingly, he's an attorney, but guess what? He's a business attorney, so this ought to be pretty cool. But right now, we want to get some of those stories in. So caller number 1, you are in the house. Well, actually in the studio, bang. You're on the air with El Torcaso and his guest and his co-host. I can barely hear you and understand you. Who is this?
And I just share something with you real quick. And I enjoy.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of static.
I don't have money right now.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Right. United States of America.
Something.
I don't have American dollars.
Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and move on from that call until we're gonna need you to call back because we lost the call.
And it wasn't coming through the speaker.
It wasn't really coming through the speaker that well.
Yeah.
But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start with your first ghost story, if you will.
Okay.
And now the Scott Pavel time.
Well, we can do one. So the deal was we start small, right?
Yeah, we start small. We
Work
don't
our
want to
way up.
scare the children yet.
Okay.
We want to give the parents a chance to not, they can kick them out of the room.
Well, end of the night, we can work it up. We were doing a lot of history talk before
Oh,
the
yeah.
show began. So I'll start with one that, as far as I know, is 100% true,
Okay.
with one exception. I'll tell you the exception when it's time.
Okay.
So I'm not going to surprise anybody.
All right.
The story goes back to, about 1860
Okay.
in England, where they had an annual plague, a problem called the African sleeping sickness.
Okay.
Now, this is a real thing.
Yeah, that's
It's carried
true.
by something called a tsetse fly. And if you ever do crossword puzzles, you will learn about the tsetse fly.
Okay.
Because it's in about every third crossword puzzle in the world.
Oh,
TSE,
wow.
TSE, the tsetse fly carries the
right.
African sleeping sickness. And this is a horrible disease, terrifying disease, basically because it's so subtle. All that happens is you get tired. You get more and more and more tired. You sleep longer and longer and longer.
Oh, boy.
You wake shorter and shorter and shorter. Until finally, one night you go to sleep, and the next day you don't wake up. You just stay asleep. Your heartbeat gets slower and slower. Your breath gets lower and lower until finally you die. Thousands and thousands of people across England died every year. And what made it worse was it was a summertime plague. They didn't
boy.
know why. We know why. It's because the disease came up with the flies from the dark continent down in Africa, would come up with the trading ships, and they would breed all across England all through the summer, and then the freeze would hit, the flies would die, and the plague would disappear, and then it would come back again with the heat. In any case, it was a terrifying experience for everybody. And now we come to a young lady named Alice George, and that's the part I'm making up because I don't honestly remember her name.
Right,
But
that's
we'll call
fine.
her Alice George. It wasn't her name. I'm making it up. That's the bad part. But
Okay.
there you go. Alice George had luck. Good or bad, I leave it to you. Her luck began when she got the African sleeping sickness. And like everybody else, she got more and more tired. She slept longer and longer. She woke shorter and shorter until finally the night came when she went to sleep, and the next morning she didn't wake up.
Okay.
Her family stood around. There was nothing they could do as her heartbeat got slower and slower,
Right.
her breath lower and lower, until finally the doctor came by. He held the mirror up to her face, and there was no fog. He pressed his ear down to her chest, and there was no heartbeat. And she was dead. They had her funeral and put her in the box and lowered the
boy.
box down on the ground. But I said that Alice had luck, and this was where part 2 of her special luck happened. See, the gravedigger got drunk.
Oh, boy.
So rip-roaring, outrageously drunk, that he passed out right there in the grave on top of her coffin,
Holy Moses.
only to wake up the next morning to the sound of hideous, horrified screams
Okay.
coming from inside the coffin.
Nice.
And that was how they discovered that sometimes when you get the African sleeping sickness, your heartbeat will get so slow it can't be heard by human ear.
Doesn't it have another name like the zombie disease or
No, that's-
something? It's
But your breath
uh-huh.
won't fog a mirror. But sometimes you will wake up.
All right.
They began to dig up graves across England,
Oh, wow.
discovered that they had buried hundreds, thousands
Oh,
of
my.
people
That was
alive. And the signs of this are absolutely unmistakable. The fingers torn to shreds, the silk at the top of the coffin ripped.
That's crazy.
The nail marks into the oak and the pine of the box. It was a great scandal. Finally, Parliament had to step in, and they said, "That's it. We are done. There is no one to blame for this. It's a terrible thing that happened, but we are done with it. It's over. Period. Finished. There will be no more exhuming of bodies."
Okay.
Nobody came out of this well. Nobody, with one exception. That was the gravedigger. No, not the gravedigger, the owners of funeral homes.
Oh, jeez.
They started to sell new high-end luxury coffins.
Oh, jeez.
And they worked like this. For just a little bit extra, you could have a coffin that would have a pipe. The pipe would come into your coffin. It would go all the way up above the ground. It would end in a little house. Under the little house, there'd be a bell. The bell would be attached to a string that would go down through the pipe. And if you woke up, buried alive,
Oh, jeez.
you could ring the bell! And people would come to rescue you.
Oh, my
You
goodness.
can go to any old graveyard in Pittsburgh you want, and you will see those little pipes coming out of the ground, a little bell.
Oh, I
under
want
its
to see
roof.
one of them. I'm going to have to look for one.
This is why they happen.
Oh, wow.
The African sleeping sickness.
To find that bell, Allegheny Cemetery.
Oh,
We're going to have to meet up. You
No,
going to
yeah,
show me?
yeah,
Oh no! Pick your cemetery. They're
Yeah.
they're there.
I wanna see it.
I
This is
was one of the.
Wow.
I'm a bit of a morbid and been doing horror movies
Okay.
and stuff like that, and that's one of the things I noticed.
Oh,
that I'm like,
wow.
what is the thing with the
It's horrible.
the pipe thing here?
Okay.
Wow.
Well, here's one that isn't true, but it's just as horrible.
Wait a minute, wait. So did she get out? Did the drunk get her out?
Oh, she got out, but I'm told she was never the same from what I've
wow.
read.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wouldn't be the same.
Edison actually has
But-
like 2 or 3 patents when Edison was around the end of that time frame when a lot of that happened.
That's crazy.
And he actually had a couple of patents for caskets because it's like, okay, I'm an inventor, I'm going to invent another. Right? Yeah.
It's scary stuff.
Yeah, that is.
But-
Well, let's go with round number 2.
Round number 2. Okay, well, there's a story about that. You all know what urban legends are, right?
Oh, yeah.
In America, they all start the same. It's there's a young couple in a car, and they're out in the middle of nowhere, and the car dies. And it go on from there. In Europe, most of the urban legends are about castle stories.
Right.
That's where my wife grew up, so I have a bunch of those. But the great urban legend of your grandfather's day,
Right.
Thomas Edison's day, 19 aughts, was about Uncle Joe.
Okay.
Uncle Joe had a horror of being buried alive. It was his one great fear. So much so that he put in his will that he must have the coffin with the bell, the big luxury
Okay.
coffin. And more than that, 3 days after he was buried,
Right.
the family had to come back and dig him up again
Oh,
just to check and make 100% absolutely beyond any doubt or
That he was
question
dead.
that he was well and truly and absolutely dead.
okay.
Well, eventually the day came, as it comes to all of us, and Uncle Joe died. And they gave him the coffin he wanted, buried him under the ground. But the day after they buried him, a hurricane blew through town,
Oh, no.
and it just rained for 3 solid days. And nobody was going to go and dig up poor Uncle Joe in the middle of a hurricane. And when the storm ended, the whole world was mud and muck, and they were real, live, living people
Right.
who needed help.
Right.
And we loved Uncle Joe and all, but we're not going to go dig the man up in the middle of a giant mud puddle
Oh, jeez.
when there's people who actually need our help. So it was the better part of a week
Uh-oh.
before they finally got around and said, well, it was in his will, he cared about it, and I suppose we got to do it. So they went around and dug down all 6 feet, pulled out the coffin,
Uh-oh.
and sure enough, there he was, that rictus of terror etched into his face. Hands, a bloody
no.
mess of claws. The silk at the top of the
Oh,
coffin
jeez.
torn to shreds. His right hand clutched, holding a broken string.
Oh, jeez.
That sucks.
Jeez.
That's
Tale of
deep.
Uncle Joe.
That's deep.
Sounds like a Stephen King
Well,
bestseller,
yeah, it
doesn't
does, doesn't it?
Well, that was, you and I grew up with what, The Hook in the Door?
That's
Yeah, uh-huh.
That was the one that scared your grandfather when
Yeah.
he was a little boy.
Yeah, that sure would. Well, you know, I'll tell you, why don't we do this? I'm going to count from 10 to 0 for the parents. We're going to have a more frightening ghost story now. So, you know, I try to do G-rated, but we'll call this PG-rated tonight. You might want to let the kids out. I don't know to the degree of fright, but we want to ramp it up. Is it ramp it up? That's the word they
Okay,
use, right?
that-
Yeah,
that'll
ramp
ramp
it.
it,
You're
yeah,
gonna
ramp
put
it
it up a ramp.
Take it up a notch.
And
Okay.
take it up a notch or two. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a 10-second delay if you want to get the kids out.
Well,
So we're going to go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Scott.
okay. Well, let me add something. Al doesn't know what he's asking because he hasn't heard these stories before.
Well, I know what I'm asking.
I have a rule. The story I'm going to tell, Kel Vol's Curse, I have a rule about it that I
Okay.
don't tell it for kids under 9.
Okay.
I won't do it
Right.
unless their parents tell me,
Right.
that's it, I'm good, I don't care.
But we gave a disclaimer.
You gave the disclaimer, but that's my rule. I
Okay.
have 2 girls who are grown
Okay.
up now, but
right.
that was my rule. And I kept to it for a lot of years.
So are we able to go with that? Or?
I'm happy to. It's your TV show.
All right. Well,
No-
I like the scariest thing you have.
No one's going to yell at me.
No, nobody's going to yell at you, or they'll have to do
You
with
want
my
the
scary
scariest-
face.
You want the scariest thing I have, or
This-
you want the scariest ghost story I have?
Well, do you want the scariest thing he has,
I'll tell
or
you
the
two.
scariest ghost story?
Um,
Which one do you vote for?
No,
scariest thing.
Scariest thing. What about you, Mike? Scariest thing or scariest ghost story?
okay.
But wait a minute, we do have a call. Let's do that before, and that will give you a chance to think about. All right, caller number 2, I guess that is. Well, actually, let Kirk. No, matter of fact, hold on a minute. Scott, you want to answer that call, please? Just basically tell them they're on.
Hi, caller, you're on.
Hello, it's Diane.
Hey, Diane.
Hi,
Here we go.
I'm one of his sisters. I have a sister named Rose, but I'm Diane. And
Yeah.
I don't know your names because I missed it about 5
It's
minutes.
Scott.
Nice to meet you.
Can you tell me, no, this guy's name? How about the cowboy hat first? What's his name?
That's Scott.
That is
I'm
Scott. Mr. Scott. I mean, Scott Pavel.
And what's the other guy's name?
Kirk.
Kirk.
Uh-oh, Mr. Scott and Kirk.
I know, we're not
I
going
just
here.
realized that. This
I
is
did
First
too.
the first and then the cowboy. Hold on, pay attention.
Pay attention? What do you mean? I can't pay any attention to that
Yes,
money.
I have a question. I have your L.
Go ahead.
Now, Kirk, do you believe in ghosts?
No, you mean Scott. Does Scott
I mean
believe-
Scott, whatever your name is. No, not the cowboy. This one here.
Which one?
Kirk.
Okay, well,
Sure,
Kirk,
yeah.
do you believe in ghosts?
Do I believe in
Cowboy.
ghosts?
I'm a cowboy now.
Do I believe in ghosts? Yes.
Okay.
I believe in spiritual
And how long you been
entities
believing in
or
ghosts?
spirit entities, so I'd count those as ghosts.
Okay.
Some people do.
He does believe in ghosts. But let's
How
hear.
about the cowboy?
He's
I
not
heard
a
it.
cowboy.
How about the cowboy?
I apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
He's not a cowboy.
I'm the one wearing the hat. I chose to. No,
Well, I don't know call him that.
No.
How about the cowboy?
No.
I do not believe in ghosts, but I do believe that
So how
lots
come
and
you
lots of
call
people
ghosts
have had
work?
experiences that for them were ghosts. I just don't think that if you had a scientist
Or you think
and a
you're
magician in
gonna come back as a
there,
ghost when you pass away?
What?
He wants to know if he's
They're
going to
gonna
come back
as a ghost
back
when you
at-
pass away.
Nobody can know that, Diane.
Only the ones that wronged me. I planned on hunting them.
I
I have a full
understand
list.
that,
I have a full list that they're going to put in my
Behave
casket.
yourself, Kirk.
What?
I just
What?
want to not hunt them
No,
down.
I mean, there's some family members I have promised to haunt.
Kirk, this is humanity matters, not your family's gonna get a whooping.
Well, I mean, they're just that's not just humanity. That's just my family.
Well,
Oh,
they're still
All right,
humanity.
here's one
Kirk,
thing.
I'm not gonna hurt them, I just plan on haunting them.
Yeah, we can hear you, but it would be
I
nice
heard
if
that.
you lowered your TV.
I can't turn that down. I don't even know how to work it on.
Here we go again. All right, so next question, Diane, because we gotta move on.
All right.
What's the next question?
Well, I'm asking enough. Does she believe in ghosts?
Do you
Yes,
believe in
always
ghosts?
did.
Always did.
Can't she?
Yes, she said yes.
I had an
You should
experience
believe
in
in
the
angels
house.
because we believe in angels.
Okay.
I had an experience in my house when I was growing up in
That's ghost.
Overbrook. And I believe my dad was haunting the house after he died.
Okay.
Or something was, because I remember when me and your brother were there, we were experiencing some pretty strange things.
You weren't
and
supposed to tell him
frightening,
about that
scary
recording.
things.
That was creepy.
That was back in the 80s.
Oh no,
but,
we did get something on recording. It was weird.
But
It was weird.
I believe in ghosts.
Like
and
my
the
brother said, don't
supernatural.
forget to wear your seatbelt.
Okay, what's that got to do with ghosts? All right, well, we're going to move forward, Diane. We got to
All
start.
right, here's
You
your-
wanted to say something?
Okay, I'll talk to you later on tonight.
All right, we have another ghost
have a
story.
good night.
We have another.
Okay.
We have another
See you, Miss
scary story.
Diane.
Okay.
See you,
have a good
Diane.
evening.
Thanks for calling.
Okay, so, one that the kids can't hear.
One of the kids can't hear. I'm hoping that the families have their kids hiding now. Well, not hiding, but just out of the room.
Keldwolf, the night wolf. He was
Okay.
an evil man.
Uh-oh.
A warrior, a witch, a warlock. He had the evil eye. And that was why we killed him.
Octalamoica.
Okay.
30 strong, the men from the village went up to his steading. Somehow he knew they were coming, and he met them there with an axe in his hand and defied them. The Keldwolf was a giant of a man with a devil's strength, but 30 men, that was more than enough to take him down. They pinned him to a tree with a spear, and he began to howl. Look on me, you...
Right.
Look in my eye, and no fear in the night. Rory Gunnarsson was the best of them. The other men turned away, but Rory reached down, picked up the Keldwolf's own axe. With a single blow, he took his head.
Ooh.
Reached down, picked it up and said, yeah? Why don't you look at me? Why don't you look at me?
Okay.
And it did. There in his grasp, the head lolled. The jaws gaped open, filled with wolf's teeth. And then the eyes opened. But they weren't eyes. They were milky white pits.
Okay.
Like the moon staring out from a sea of filth. Rory screamed like a girl, dropped the thing on the ground, stomped it all to pieces.
Oh, jeez.
The other men, they laughed, and they went inside, drank and drained the Keldwolf's ale. All but Rory. He just stood there by the door, staring out into the night. And come morning, he was gone. Now, men said that he'd gone off a Viking. I mean, you lose that much face in front of your neighbors. What else can you do? But the truth is, he never was heard from again. Now me, I grew up on the tales of Kjellvolskers. The eyes in the night, however you saw them, you were doomed. The only thing that could save you was a light, a lantern, lamp, even a candle. For no ghost can stand the light of man, only the moon and the stars. The tales that we told would have curled your hair. But I never really believed them until a few years ago. I was out hunting with my friend Eigel. Eigel Half-Hand, we called him, or Eigel Badger's Bane, depending on how well you liked him. We called him Half-Hand because he'd lost 3 fingers from his right hand as a boy. We called him Badger's Bane because he hated them. They were the reason he'd lost the fingers. He'd reached under an old stump. There'd been a badger's den beneath it. They'd savaged his hand, taken the fingers. Ever since then, Eigel would do anything for the chance to kill a badger. Well, I was out hunting with my friend Eigel. The sun had just set. We were making a camp in a clearing when a sound came from an old stump across the way. And I saw the thought run through his eye. Badger. He reached down, took out a big old hunting knife, made his way over to that stump, and he drove it down inside. And he looked in, he said, "The cheeky bastard, he's looking at me." He made to pull out, but then instead he plunged in all the way up to his shoulder.
Oh, boy.
And he began to scream. A high, horrible, hideous scream. I'm not a small man. I ran over, I grabbed him, I tried to pull him free, but he might have been a stone for all the good it did. I pulled, I yanked, and all the time that screaming going on and on. Finally, I set my foot against the stump. I wrapped my arms around his chest, and I heaved with everything I had, and he flew across that clearing. I ran over. His arm had been chewed away. The bones showed white all the way up to the shoulders. I took a light. I went back to that stump, and I looked inside, and there was nothing there. Now, I know what you're thinking. It was the badgers. They got him at last. And they simply escaped while I was tending to my friend. And you're probably right. But I did get careful after that.
I bet you did.
Still, the reality is you don't hunt in these parts for sport. It isn't a game. You hunt for survival. You hunt for food. And so it was. 2 years ago, I was out hunting with my Uncle Owen. Owen. You've got an Uncle Owen, and you, and everybody has an Uncle Owen.
Okay.
My Uncle Owen was the world champion at farts. You laugh, the man could fart in time. He could fart in tune. He could fart for 3 minutes straight.
Oh, wow.
You'd all be sitting there in the hall, he'd get that look on his face, and he'd sort of lean over sideways, and you left.
Oh, jeez.
A minute later, everyone else would be out with you, and there'd come Owen. Well, I was out hunting with my Uncle Owen. Sun had set. We were at a little cabin. We got up in the hills. And Owen, he turns to me, he says, "I got to go out for privy." And I said to him, I said, "Owen, shouldn't you take a light with you?" And he goes down there, it's going to be deader than dead before I'm done.
Oh, jeez.
He went outside, and I heard a little door open, a little door shut. And then I heard Owen.
Okay. Well, that's different. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy.
Oh, that was a good one. I got to see. What the hell? And then he began to scream. High, horrible, hideous scream. I knew that scream. I hit that door with everything I had. I am not a small man, but it might have been a stump for all the good it did. I pounded on the thing. I kicked on it. I hammered on it. And all the time that screaming, going on and on. Finally, I backed up. I took a run. I hit that thing with my shoulder, and the door, it flew off the hinges, little leather hinges, crashed up against the wall and down on what was left of my Uncle Owen.
Ooh.
It had taken him from beneath. There were maybe 30 yards of silver gray guts that came out and down and up and in. I took a light. I looked inside, and there was nothing there. So, now you know the tale of Kelvol's curse, the eyes in the night. And as you walk around in these woods around here, you hear that little sound behind you. It might be a rabbit, might be a squirrel, might be something else. You take that light in your hand, you take that phone, you look, and there will be nothing there. And you can remember that storyteller and his stupid idea of a bedtime tale. But if you hear that sound and your hands are empty, if you got no light, you feel those eyes staring down at you like moons looking out from a sea of filth, for the love of God, just don't look.
That's a good point. That was good. I liked it. Well, that was very entertaining. I like that. That's a good
Well,
one.
you gave the warning.
Hey, I love it. I liked it. Hey, I don't think that was G-rated.
I love the descriptive manners.
I
and
really
the-
liked
those
that.
were-
That was very good.
The color of
Yeah,
Now,
that was exciting.
scary. I tell this one. This is one I will tell to the kids.
Okay.
Kids love this one. Love it, love it,
Okay.
love it, love it. And I always tell them, somewhere, about 3/4 of the way through here, some of the grown-ups are going to start laughing.
Oh boy.
And when they're done laughing, we're done with the story, and you're going to go, oh, cool, gross, grody, that was awesome. I'm going to scare the grown-ups with it.
I bet.
So, that's what this one is. Don't ever laugh when a hearse drives by.
You got that right.
But one of these days, it's you will die. They'll take you away in that big black hack. They'll take you away, and you won't come back. They'll lower you under 6 foot down while men with shovels stand around. They'll toss in dirt, throw in rocks. Won't give a darn if they break your box. And then all will go well for perhaps a week, till your coffin begins to leak. And your eyes will fall out, your teeth will cave in, and the worms will crawl over your mouth and your chin. The worms will crawl in, the worms will crawl out.
Yeah.
The worms will play pinochle on your snout. Till a great green worm with rolling eyes crawls in your belly and out your thighs. Then your stomach turns to a sickly green and pus pours out like whipping cream. Well, go spread that on a slice of bread. That's what you eat when you are dead.
That was a good one.
You remember that one?
I never remember that one, but that's
Oh,
a
you
good
remember
one.
that.
Though.
That you know, maybe you'll know it like this. The worms crawl in, the
Oh,
worms
yeah, I
crawl
remember
out,
that.
the worms play pinochle on your head.
Yeah.
That's a
never
funny
heard
song.
that.
Yeah.
Well, back to getting serious here. Al, did you not introduce him as an author?
He's an author
And
too.
of what, dude? What are you? What are you
Well, we're
actually
going to get
writing?
to that. Actually, what I want
Well,
to do.
hang on a second. I want to finish this because
What?
there's a piece in this.
Okay, well.
That's the part the kids like.
Okay.
How do I scare the grown-ups with
Yeah,
that?
let's see how you
You
scare
know
the
who
grown-
wrote that?
No.
That was written by ambulance drivers in World War I.
Ooh. Ooh.
You ever want to sober right on up?
Yeah.
You go ahead and you can imagine being an ambulance driver in World War I.
Oh, yeah.
And that will do you.
That would scare you. Oh, yeah.
So-
So, but now I want to change up since we're running out of
Okay.
time. And what I want to do is I would like Mike to ask you a question about your profession as an attorney.
Okay.
And then I would like Kirk and Annette to ask you one. And hopefully we can do this in a decent amount of time because actually everybody at home, you can see I have a tin here. Well, these are some delicious cookies that are homemade, which I didn't get any yet. So after we're off live, you better believe I'm gonna get
You end up
some.
looking like me is what's gonna happen to you.
Well, hey, I can use a. Hey, wait a minute. I don't want to say hey, fat up, but then again, yeah, wait a minute. But at any rate, seriously, I want to get those attorney questions in. We have roughly about 12 minutes. So let's go ahead and have Mike ask you a question as opposed to whatever question you might have. He is in business law.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what it pertains to, but I do know that whatever this man does, and I just met him one time, but I can already tell the type of person he is. So he really cares about people.
I think
He's
that's
a lot of compassion.
That's the degree that Donald Trump has, business management. I do believe Donald Trump.
No, but he's a business attorney, so
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead and ask him the question and see where we're at?
Okay, so El, the question I was really thinking, I want to know about his writing career. That's what I'd like. to know.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we have Kirk and Annette ask him an attorney question?
Okay.
Then we could talk about his writing career. But we also got to talk about the cookies. We don't want to
Well,
forget
I wrote the
cookies.
cookbook, so that doubles.
Well, we want
do
to talk
both.
about the cookies because hey. Okay. So you're on, young man,
Yeah.
and you can call in, everybody.
One of the questions I was going to ask you about, Loring, one, where did you go to school? And two, in the business law, what are the things in the business law do you find fulfilling as a career? Because people go into law as a longer term career, and usually law is one of those things that is to help somebody, to help a community, to
Right.
help a person
Right.
individually. So
Okay. I went to Boston University School of Law.
cool. Okay.
Graduated 1991, editor of the Law Review, all that good stuff. Why business law? Couple of reasons. My father-in-law, who died a year ago tomorrow,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
was one of the few actual geniuses I've ever met in my life. I'm awfully smart. I'm proud of it. I mean, I topped out all those tests when we were
Right.
kids. And Vladimir played at a whole other level. This is the man who invented soft contact lenses.
Okay.
Unbelievably smart. And he had a bunch of companies, and I really wanted to be in a position to help move the business forward. I didn't want to do criminal law because, I'd hate to lose too much.
Right.
It would tear me apart. If I was a prosecutor and I had someone who I thought was actually guilty,
Right.
and I lost it, or I was a defense attorney, I had someone who was convicted and I thought it was wrong,
Right.
it would eat at me for years. And I
Right.
know that about
Right.
myself. So,
We were talking about that in the
Right.
studio
yeah,
before
studio.
we hit.
So I didn't want to
Chance.
want to chance that. And the thing about business law is people forget that if you own a business, you started a restaurant. I know, Mike, you've been working in a restaurant for years. You're an immigrant. You start a restaurant. You put your life into it. You
Right.
put your kids through college. You're getting old. You want to pass it on to your daughter who works there.
Right.
But you got the two sons who are doing other things. Having somebody who can help you to sell the business or can do the business planning
Right.
to make it work changes your life.
Okay.
It's absolutely the core of what you've done for your entire life.
Right.
And somebody like me who's good at it
Right.
can really, and who cares to be good at it,
Right.
can make things work when they didn't have to. And a lot of it is just little stuff. People ask, well, do I need to have a lawyer for this big contract? And I tell them, those contracts, you never need a contract for anything.
Okay.
Unless something goes wrong.
Right.
It's buying an insurance policy.
Exactly.
But if you hire somebody, if you hire a good lawyer to help you write those contracts, they will prevent things from going wrong.
Okay.
Because the process of laying out, I mean, those big form contracts that I'll use, the
Right.
20-page contract, it's basically everything that's gone wrong in the history of Western law.
Right.
And there's a provision there to explain it. you can sit down with everybody and say, well, these things have gone wrong. How do we want to do this?
Right.
You get that contract done. Everyone has agreed to it. 2 years from now, something terrible happens.
Right.
And everyone starts to fight. And I will tell you now, memories change.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the way human beings are.
That's true.
Memories change. But if you can go to somebody and say, look, here's the contract. And remember, we spoke about this.
We're going to get that call in a minute. Okay, go ahead.
People will look at you and they'll say, oh yeah,
Right.
That's right. But I can't have it because of this. Well, now you're negotiating the details of how do we make it better.
Right.
You don't have the frustration. 99% of every fight that gets into the courts that's not criminal comes from frustrated expectations.
I believe it.
People thought they were getting an A, they got a B, they get
Right.
angry, they fight.
Right.
When they realize that they got the A, it is an A, but it doesn't work,
Right.
they can work together to
To
solve
make it a B.
Well, that's what I do.
Okay.
I make sure that people don't have those fights.
Wow.
When someone's upset, I'm the one who can put the oil on the water and prevent
sounds good.
my colleagues from getting involved. And for me, that's satisfying. That's every bit as helpful as when I'm fighting with an insurance company
Right.
and getting coverage for somebody.
Okay.
Which I've done some of that too.
That's
Now,
more
is there,
commendable.
I got
Yeah.
a
More
quick question.
commendable than being a criminal lawyer, I think. That's way better than being a criminal lawyer.
I got a quick question though. Now, does entertainment law and business law, it seems like they would be connected in some way, are they?
Well, they are, but
To an degree?
entertainment is one field. If
Right.
I do, when you're doing oil and gas law,
Right.
there's specialty aspects you need
Right.
to know about the oil and gas industry. When you're doing entertainment law,
You need to know
there
about
there are particular twists
Okay.
to that.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Of course, of course I have in various parts.
Well, when I finally get on the real TV networks, I mean, not that this isn't real, but I mean paid TV network. I'm gonna be talking to Scott.
Well.
But you know what? I want to real quickly have Annette ask you a question. We have a caller here. As a matter of fact, do you mind, Annette, if we get the call real quick?
No,
Well, it's your turn.
caller, you're on.
Hello, this is Len Goodman. I just wanted to call in and say hello to Al and Annette.
Hi,
And,
Hi.
it's great to see Mike back in the chair. And so wonderful to see you back there, Mike.
Thank you.
And
we're glad you
I
called.
think it's amazing that you managed to get the cat from Star Trek on the show. I don't know how you
You're
did that.
terrible.
I don't
It
know
had to
how you
happen.
did that.
Yeah.
We knew that was happening.
They've been telling some amazing stories. I've been riveted into my
Thank
chair.
you, sir.
I'll get one of my old makeup kits. We'll get the
Now,
Spock
don't
ears
mess
on
with
Albert.
me. Hey,
here.
I'm not being Spock. Hey, forget about it. But I am rather logical.
It's amazing, and I was just wondering what's the scariest thing that's happened to you? Like maybe what's the scariest thing that's happened on your show even?
Well, I haven't really had any scary thing. Well, correction. We had a medium on here a few years ago named Sarah Sachs, and
She wasn't a large or a small. She was a medium.
no, she was a medium. She was a psychic.
Okay.
She was a psychic. She still is a psychic.
See, all the mediums I
but,
know are
But
size
what
large, so.
actually happened was the medium
She's
discovered
a sidekick
that-
or a sidekick.
behave yourself, Glenn.
She's a sidekick or a sidekick.
No, she was a psychic. Oh,
I
Mamma
got you,
Mia.
I got you. She could read minds.
Yeah. Will you let me finish? Any rate.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
Any rate, so she was here, and she told me that my deceased father was actually, she described him, she didn't know he was my father, and here my biological father was standing behind me. And that kind of freaked me out a little bit. It did
Wow.
freak me out a little bit. It was
Could you tell
different.
he was there?
Well, the last time I saw my father was when he had just been killed by a drunk driver
Oh,
in
that's
1976.
That's
And
terrible.
let's just say that, you see how red my tie is?
Yeah.
Well, there was that color all over the place in front of me at the age of 12 years old.
Oh, that's a terrible
Quite
thing to
gross,
hear.
actually.
Yeah.
Quite
Oh,
gross.
no, I hope there's no kids listening. Did they all still stay out of the room, I hope?
No.
Well, if they are in the room, that's not my fault.
I'll tell you something,
Okay.
caller. Well, since we're going on ghost stories,
We only got a couple seconds, though.
Okay,
Hey.
off you go then. It's nice to hear you, Al. Take
Nice
care.
to meet you, too. Keep listening, because he said something to tell
Bye
us.
now. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
interesting fact about ghost stories. They're really useful for little kids.
Yeah,
Now, I have to be careful with stuff like Kelvol's curse.
Right.
Because you can
Scare the
Scare.
heck out. Oh, yeah.
the kids.
Right.
But the stories, the spooky ones, the ones
Right.
that stick in their head,
Right.
and the kid goes, well, I want to hear it again. I want to hear it
Right,
again.
right.
It's actually a very powerful psychological mechanism. They're
I
working
believe
their
it.
way through it
I believe it.
at the level they can imagine. So, as scared as they may be, even a nightmare or something,
Right.
it's good for them because they are processing that fear. Which is why, if you ever had kids, I don't know if you guys have
No,
kids.
I have animal kids.
Okay. They'll ask for that same book or that same story
Okay.
over and over
Right,
and over,
right.
and then all of a sudden, they're done.
There you go.
And it's not they got bored with it, it's whatever was going on in the back of the little kid brain has solved itself.
There
Yeah,
you go.
that
That's true. That makes
2
sense.
to
That's
3
learning.
range where you're getting the.
That's learning.
Can I sleep with you? Sleep with daddy?
Yeah.
Sleep with mommy? Right, yeah, that 2 to 3 ranges.
Well, you know what? We cannot forget Annette. She has a question. Do you want to speak about his book since we're running down the time? Or do you want to ask him about the cookies, the book, the attorney thing? Or it's up to you. It's a smorgasbord.
I'm amazed where you find the time to do everything that you do.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing.
How you're an author, a cook, a chef, or whatever, and a father and a storyteller. Where do you fluctuate, or how
That's
do
the
you
answer.
schedule
I-
your daily?
It's not the time, it's, I hate being idle.
Okay.
So when I feel like I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs, I'm reading the Steeler blog too much, I'll find something useful that I can do. The cookies, just as an example, this happened because when my wife and I met, my family holiday is Thanksgiving. My whole family gets together.
Okay.
That's the big holiday.
We got about 4 minutes to
Okay.
keep going.
Her family holiday is Christmas.
Okay.
And when I went there for their family Christmas the first time, they had the Czech cookie tray. And I'd never seen anything like this
Okay.
in my life.
Wow.
Declared, this is a good thing. Well, when the wall fell, my in-laws moved back to Europe,
Right.
we had to make our own Christmas.
Okay.
And I said, well, we got to have the cookies. And Kate
Right.
said, well, I'll do 2 or 3. They're a lot of work. This was not enough.
Right.
So I said, well, I'll,
You
I'll
enjoyed
help
the
with
cookies.
cooking. So I started to research the cookies.
Right.
I would make a batch and make another batch just to get them right. Until about 2 months in, my beloved wife came to me and said, if you keep making them, I'll keep eating them.
Oh, gee. That's funny.
And so,
I love it.
so the tradition began that I would make the cookies, we would sample the cookies, and the cookies would leave the house.
Okay.
And I would give them away to colleagues and coworkers and friends.
And now
and so on.
you help people down the strip district and stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah, every year, it's big shtick.
Wow.
Starting in September, the people at Presta George's and Woolies and Penmac will, so are we on the cookie
Well, you can
list
put
this
us on
year?"
your list. I'll find a way
Oh,
to get
yeah.
on that list somehow. But before we go any further, there's a cookie in here.
Okay.
I swear to you, it looks like it's gold. What is this cookie
one?
that looks like it's gold?
That's actually a classic ginger snap. This one is maybe the cookie I'm most
I wish we
proud
could
of.
get a tight shot, but we can't, ladies and gentlemen, at this point.
It took me about 5 years to get this right.
Okay.
Because
I
ginger
should be the
snaps.
one eating that one.
Yeah. Well, ginger snaps are all about balance.
Okay.
You got to get them just so.
Got about 3
And
minutes
If
left.
you want to make ginger snaps, here's the big trick. Don't use old ginger. 90% of the time, ginger goes bad. People buy it and it sits in the drawer for 3 months, and the man who works in the restaurant, and it's gone.
And also, don't try to have Mary Ann in there either. Hey, forget about it. That was a Gilligan's Island
But
statement.
if you got 3,
I couldn't help myself.
if you got fresh ginger,
Okay.
you'll get a consistent result. And
Wait a
after
minute.
that, it's a matter of
Wait a
managing the
minute.
spices.
Scott?
Yeah.
This is a family show. Why'd you have to speak about ginger being fresh? I couldn't help myself.
I was a Marianne kid.
Oh, well, hey, I won't go there.
And she can cook. She has her own
Yeah, I
kitchen.
know she could, and I met her in person, too.
Did you really?
Yeah, Dawn.
Dawn
Wait,
Wells.
Yeah, no, I didn't meet her. My fault. I met the lady from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay.
Allie Mae or whatever her name was.
Nice.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to mention he has a book coming out. What is the name of the book?
Heritage Cookies of the Old and New World. It's in.
Well, we
in
can't say
design.
how to get it because
No, it's not
that could be
available
advertisement.
yet.
But
3 weeks from now.
But you
it'll be
know
out.
what? The one thing I will say is, if you are interested in learning about any of this, we can find a way to contact Scott if you contact me. And I'm available. If you look up Albert Torcaso on YouTube, that's a Torcaso, you're going to eventually find my cell phone number. As long as you don't block, make private or unknown, you'll get to talk to the real human being, Mr. Big Fat Albert. I'm just kidding.
Al, my friend, I'm a lawyer. If you look my name up on the internet,
I
you
bet-
will find
I bet
me.
you will.
If you
So
don't
look
find
him
me, I'm
up.
a bad lawyer.
Well, attorney man, spell your name out for the peoples, the last name.
P as in Peter, A, V as in Victor, E-L-L-E.
And
Scott
also-
Pavel.
Okay, and I just, on a personal note, we didn't get to speak to Kirk all that much. So he will be back.
That's okay, I'm a mute. No, sorry.
What we're gonna do, ladies and
Working
gentlemen.
on the warp drive.
Okay, well, we got
Yeah,
to
working
leave
on
in
the warp
about
drive.
2 seconds here, but we're gonna have him back for return engagement, and he is politically different than I am.
Polar opposite.
So we might have an old school debate type of thing, and maybe possibly on recent politics at some point. I don't know. We'll have to see. The thing about it is, I really don't want to be.
Bye, everybody.
The thing about it is, I really don't like to be that one-sided, two-sided. Because to tell you the truth, real quickly, when it comes to me and my politics, I am about the citizen of America. I'm not about the left or right or the out of sight. I'm about you. So everybody, we got to go tonight. So remember that you and humanity and all forms of life really does matter.
You're going to get money for that?
Good night, everybody.